Okay, I think that's more or less everybody joined at this point. Good morning to you all, and thanks again for joining us for our latest webinar. This morning's session, well, we have two sessions, this morning and next Thursday morning. We'll cover Seascape 9.9 SP4, the release of that software, which brings multiple changes, some excellent new features, which we'll go through in detail. So in your control panel, for those of you who haven't joined us previously, in the control panel, the handouts area, you'll have a copy of this presentation. Okay, I'm only going to go through the main points of this presentation, this particular one, because everything else is covered in detail over the course of the next hour. So Seascape 9.9 SP4 brings registration of Seascape into play. A new Enhanced Iec is available for licensed units. We've included simulation. Several features are now licensed. We've shifted our focus to variable-based advanced ladder. And we've also added a migration utility. A couple of new controllers. Some of you will have met one of those, the X10, recently. We did a webinar last week, I believe, on it. And then the general feature improvements to Service Pack 4. So again, I won't delay on this one too long, but basically registration, we want user feedback. Up to now, we've launched Seascape up onto the website, allowed you guys to download it, and the only comeback we've had on it is when you contact us, you know, either looking for new features or reporting a bug, or so we had no clear indication of which sections of the software were constantly used, which could be improved, etc., etc. With your feedback now, with user registration, we hope to make this a better product. That's the plan. The following 4 features are now licensed. So lots of you will probably be familiar with the WebMI licensing scheme. Mqtt, which is something we launched with SP3. Mqtt Sparkplug, that'll now be licensed. Enhanced Iec will be licensed, and also J1939. Now, the great thing about the J1939, if any of you use that feature, is up to this version of firmware, for any firmware updates, the unit had to come back to the factory to be updated. From here on in, if your unit is currently licensed, then you can update the firmware and relicense your unit in the field. So that's a very, very useful feature. Okay, we have Enhanced Iec with multiple new blocks. Again, we'll go through all of this in detail. Simulation, this is something that's been requested for a long, long time. We've added that now in Enhanced Iec as well. We'll go through how to enable it, the various new features, Enums and Bitfields. Again, the licensed features within Seascape 9.9 SP4, J1939, etc. The migration utility for converting advanced ladder in register-based to variable-based. So it's quite a straightforward process. It's just a matter of selecting your file, right-clicking it, and migrating it to variable-based. As I said, we'll be covering all of this in much more detail in the next hour. We've introduced some new models. The X10 you've met last week, and we also have a rugged IP67 module coming, the MCS 8842. More on that through your distribution channels, and that's available. Now, not all features are available for all products. Okay, just be aware of that. So Seascape registration is across the board for everything: the Micro OCS, the XL, the XL Plus, and the RCCs. Again, the migration tool is also there. Enhanced Iec is supported by the XL family the XL Plus, and the RCC. Also supported on the X5, but not on the other micro OCS or the XLE, XLT models. And again, we've increased the ladder size for all products, and we will explain why that is when we're going through the Enhanced Iec presentation. Some improvements: software control to reset Ethernet hardware and protocols, backup restore with Enhanced Iec runtime, multiple bug fixes. We discovered several issues with SP3, which we have fixed and improved. Again, all of this detail you'll find in the release notes when we release the software and firmware fully. So what are we going through? Okay, so this SP4 brief overview. Again, it's in your handouts there in your control panel window if you want to download it at any point. We have presentations this morning on Seascape Registration, Seascape Licensing, and then we're going to go through Enhanced Iec, including simulation and debugging. So that's the agenda for this morning. Then on Thursday, we will go through the two migration utilities, the Enhanced Iec from Standard Iec and from register-based advanced ladder to variable-based advanced ladder. And we also will go through something we haven't done a webinar on up to recently, firmware updates, creating bootable firmware. And we have a new utility for those of you who have created firmware previously called Rufus. And it's a very stable utility. So we'll go through that in detail on Thursday morning. So without further ado, we'll get cracking. So this first presentation is about 9 minutes long. It's on Seascape Registration. And again, if you have any questions throughout, just ask them in the questions area in your control panel. We'll answer them separately. So after each of these presentations, we'll do a quick questions and answers if there's anything there, and we'll carry on. Okay, so Seascape Registration.
Hi, today we'll be going through the Seascape registration process in Seascape 9.9 Service Pack 4. This involves creating a Seascape login, Seascape registration, details on data collected by Horner, as well as the Help Horner data sharing option. We will also discuss the advantages of using the registered version of Seascape. This presentation will cover the following: the two Seascape modes that are available, Seascape evaluation mode and its limitations, how to create a new ID, in other words, how to register with Seascape, the Seascape login window and all the different ways to log in Seascape, the benefits to being a registered user, and what data is collected by Horner. And we'll finish with a live questions and answer session. From Seascape 9.90 SP4 onwards, users can run Seascape in any one of the below modes: evaluation mode and registered mode. In evaluation mode, there are certain limitations in the features that are supported, and it is valid for only a 30-day period. Post this, the user will need to register to use Seascape or uninstall and reinstall Seascape. In registered mode, the user needs to have a valid email ID and password to log in. Once the user is logged in, they will have access to all the features supported by Seascape. With the implementation of Seascape registration, there will be better user feedback on Seascape usage and your direct input to make it a better product. There will be a universal login for all Horner software packages and websites, so you'll have a consistent setup over multiple PCs, and easier licensing of additional features like WebMI, etc. If a user is running Seascape in evaluation mode, then there are certain features that the user will not have access to: WebMI licensing, Mqtt SparkPlug licensing, Enhanced Iec licensing, J1939 licensing, and evaluation mode is a 30-day trial. From Seascape 9.9 SP4 onwards, launching Seascape will present you with the following login window. If you have a valid account registered with any of the Horner websites, then that email and password can be used to log in and start the registered version. If you do not have an account with any of the Horner websites, then you can click on No Account to open the Horner account registration window. Fill in the required details, which are email, password, and country. The remaining fields are optional. Review and accept the terms and conditions. You will then be able to create a new account to sign into Cscape to use the new registered version. In the Terms and Conditions section, we specify the data that is collected when the user logs into Cscape. On accepting the terms and conditions, Horner will collect information including the Windows version, keyboard language, Seascape version, Seascape language, which toolbars are shown, and whether Cscape exited correctly on the previous application exit. The second checkbox indicates help Horner improve its products and services by automatically sending diagnostic and usage data. If users checks this checkbox and accepts the condition, then the following data will be sent to Horner: the events, program upload, download, open an application, create PGM file, hash of user ID and CSP file name, how Cscape is connected to the unit, the firmware version running in the controller, device type, XLE, XL7, etc., the CAN network that the controller is using, CScan, CANopen, J1939, etc., the project programming environment, Advanced Ladder, IEC, Advanced Ladder with tags, etc., protocols in use, Modbus, GPS, etc., the IOs used in the program, including IO module, Smart6, Smart Block, etc., the messaging information, GSM, GPRS, SMS, email, Mqtt. If using IEC 61131.3 and Advanced Ladder variable-based languages, which particular languages and features, UDFB, subroutine structures, are used throughout. WebMI details, number of users, pages, data points, enhanced or basic graphics in use, number of languages used in graphics. This is all so that Horner can understand the programming languages and features most commonly used by the users and customers. Specifically for beta groups, it is quite important that our beta testers agree to the Help Horner option. Check that all required fields are filled and then click Sign Up. You will then have a window pop up to confirm Horner account registration was successful and a prompt to check for an activation email. Open the mailbox of the email used to register. Note: activation email may end up in your spam or junk folder. As you can see, I have got a verification link from Horner. Open up the mail and just click Confirm my account. A web browser will open and show a Horner account verified message. Close browser windows. Your registration has been successfully completed. Next, we're going to log into Cscape using our newly registered account. Log into Cscape using this confirmed ID. In the login window, you can see two checkboxes. Keep me logged in maintains login details so that each time Cscape is launched, you do not need to enter the user email and password, and you will be automatically logged into Cscape. If left unchecked, it requires details to be entered each time Cscape is launched. The alternative checkbox, Remember Me, retains the email address but requires an appropriate password to log into Cscape. If you do not want to log into or use the registered version of Cscape, then you have the option to use Cscape in evaluation mode. Click on evaluation mode and Cscape will run in evaluation mode for a period of 30 days. After 30 days, Cscape will need to be uninstalled or registered using an appropriate ID or the process above. Also, when using Cscape in evaluation mode, there are several features which are not supported, such as licensing, WebMI, Enhanced Iec 61131.3, Mqtt, and J1939. Registered Cscape is required for all features to function. Next, we're going to log into Cscape to see the advantages of Seascape Registration. To do this, go to the top left of your screen to My Account and click Seascape Login. Log in using the email ID which we registered earlier. Check Keep Me Logged In and click Sign In. Now you can see in Seascape I have logged in as hornermailtest@gmail.com. Now proceed further and start using Seascape and all of its features which are enabled with the registered version. If you have selected the Help Horner APG Improvements checkbox, there is also an added advantage in that all settings selected in the editor options and application settings are saved under this user. These settings are maintained each time this user logs into any PC. There is no need to go and reconfigure the editor options and application settings, which is an added advantage for the logged in user. To recap, if you are using the registered version of Cscape, then the following data is collected by Horner during login: your Cscape login, your Windows version, the keyboard language, the Cscape version and language, toolbars shown, the status bar, simple elements, online changes, etc., and if Cscape exited properly on previous exit, a yes or no. If the user accepts the Help Horner Improve option, then during the Create PGM, Program Upload, Program Download, Open Application, Project Download, the below data is collected. The event type, whether it be a Create PGM, Program Upload, Program Download, Open Application, or Project Download. The connection type to the unit, it can be serial, USB, or through Ethernet. The target device OCS model type, firmware version, and CAN network, CSCAN, CAN, or J1939. The protocols used could be Modbus or GPS. The I/O used, I/O module, SmartSIC, SmartRail, Wi-Fi. Messaging information, GPRS, SMS, email, and Mqtt. And WebMI details, number of users, data points, and pages. Thank you for listening this far. Next, we'll be moving on to our live questions and answers session.
Okay, that's registration covered. As you see, it's quite a straightforward process, but it is a requirement from here on in to run Cscape with all of the features. I just have one question in. As I said, feel free to ask any questions. Is my program also saved or uploaded? No, your program is not. Need to be absolutely clear on this. We have no interest whatsoever in your program file, in your PGM file, or anything like that. We do not update or upload any of that data. So your program is your own. We have no interest, as I said. We're just trying to figure out, which features are used more often than not, to allow us to improve the software. So that's that. Again, no program data is uploaded. Okay, if there's no other questions, we'll move on to licensing. So here we go, licensing. This is about 11 minutes long. And again, any questions you have throughout, feel free to ask in the questions window, and we'll talk about it afterwards.
Hi, today we'll be covering the topic of licensing in Seascape 9.9 Service Pack 4, and we'll also be taking you through the process of licensing the controller for features for Enhanced Iec, Mqtt, and J1939. This presentation will cover what features require the license in Seascape, requirements for licensing the unit, the controllers which support the licensing feature, and then I will explain the licensing procedure for each of the features. Once we have completed the licensing procedure, then we will move on to how we can verify whether the controller is licensed for that feature, and we will talk about the global voucher code. Once we've finished this pre-recorded part of the video, we will then move on to a live questions and answers session. From Seascape 9.90 SP3 onwards, there are some features in Horner's controllers which requires a license. In 9.90 SP3 we released Mqtt Sparkplug and J1939 which required licenses, and with Seascape 9.90 SP4 we have Enhanced Iec Runtime, which will also be a licensed feature. So, the procedure to license each of the above features is very similar, but each feature requires a separate license, and it is done from a separate window in Seascape. We will discuss what the requirements are for licensing a unit. Before licensing a unit, the user needs to be aware of certain things. For example, the user should have a registered Cscape account. With the release of Seascape 9.90 SP4 onwards, we have brought the concept of registration, so the user should be registered with Horner, and only then would they be able to license the feature. The controller to be licensed should be communicating only with Cscape. Any communication method can be used, like serial, Ethernet, and USB. Next, the controller, which must be licensed, should have an SD card inserted. The SD card is required only during the licensing process. Once the licensing process is completed, the SD card can be removed because the license is copied to the internal memory of the controller. And lastly, the user should have a valid voucher code. Next, we will discuss what controllers will support the licensing features. Here you can see I've divided this into various series. We have the XL series, the Micro-OCS series, and the RCC series. In the XL series, most of the Linux controllers support all the licensing features: Mqtt Sparkplug, J1939, and Enhanced Iec runtime. In the Micro-OCS series, only the X5 controllers support these features, and in the RCC series, we have the RCC 972, RCC 1410, RCC 2414, and RCC 8842, which supports these three features. To license a controller with Enhanced Iec runtime, the user needs to connect the device to Seascape and go to the following window: Tools, Editor Options, Compiler Options, and click on Display/Validate License. Click on Obtain License, paste the voucher code in the window provided, and click on Apply Voucher to license the controller. The license file gets downloaded to the SD card present in the unit, and the file name is Enhanced Iec Firmware.lic. An email is also sent to the user with the license file and details. To license a controller with Mqtt Sparkplug, the user needs to connect the device to Seascape and go to the following window: Program, Messaging, Mqtt, select the Controller tab, and click on Display/Validate License. Click on Obtain License, paste the voucher code in the window provided, and click on Apply Voucher to license the controller. The license file gets downloaded to the SD card present in the unit, and the file name is Mqtt Firmware.lic. An email is also sent to the user with the license file and details. To license a controller with J1939, the user needs to connect the device to Seascape and go to the following window: Hardware Configuration, CAN1, J1939 Config, and click on Display/Validate License. Click on Obtain License, paste the voucher code in the window provided, and click on Apply Voucher to license the controller. The license file gets downloaded to the SD card present in the unit, and the file name is J1939 Firmware.lic. An email is also sent to the user with the license file and details. The user can check if the respective license files are present in the SD card of the controller. In the controller, click on System, License Details, and check if the Mqtt Enhanced Iec J1939 license displays Yes. There is a %S system bit for each license type. See details below. %S209 references the Mqtt license bit and will display ON if the license is present. %S210 refers to the J1939 license bit and will display ON if the license is present. %S211 refers to the Enhanced Iec license bit and will display ON if the license is present. A single voucher code can be used to license all three features, which excludes WebMI. Each feature needs to be licensed separately. The below global voucher code can be used for licensing. Next, we will be doing a Seascape demonstration where we go through how to license each of these three features. I have an XL4E controller connected to Seascape over Ethernet. As you can see, all my licensing bits %S209, %S210, %S211 are off in Watch window, and I am also connected to FileZilla. You can see here my SD card is empty and there are no files. We will start off with licensing of Enhanced Iec. So, for licensing the Enhanced Iec, we will go to Tools and then Editor Options, and in Editor Options, go to Compiler Options. We will check the checkbox to Enhanced Iec mode and click on Display/Validate License. As you can see, no license has been issued for this connected device, so we click OK, and then we get this window. Here we click on Obtain License, and we need to enter the global voucher code, which can be found at 6 minutes into this video. Next, we need to click on Apply Voucher Code to apply this code. You can see here I'm getting an error, invalid username. Since we are using Cscape in evaluation mode, that is the reason we are getting this invalid user error. The user should be a registered user, so now I will log into my account. So I'm going to click on my account and select Seascape Login and enter my email ID, password, and then sign in. So now I'm using Seascape as a registered user. So again, go back to Editor Options and then Compiler Options. First select Enhanced Iec mode and click OK. And OK again. Click on the Display/Validate License. Click OK. And then click on Obtain License option. I'm going to enter my global voucher code again and click on Apply Voucher. Here you can see the voucher code has applied successfully. And now I'm going to click OK. Now we will check the %s bit for Enhanced Iec licensing. So first we're going to go to the Data Watch window, and here we can see that %s211 has been turned on. We can verify the same in SD card by going to FileZilla and by establishing the connection. After refreshing in FileZilla, we can see enhanced firmware.lic file in the SD card. This indicates that the device has been licensed for Enhanced Iec. Next, we will move on to licensing of the Mqtt feature. So go to Mqtt and select Controller. Now click on Display/Obtain License, and we find that no Mqtt license has been issued to the device. Click OK and then click on Obtain License. Enter the voucher code and click on Apply Voucher to apply the voucher code. You will get a message, Voucher code applied successfully. This completes Mqtt licensing. So we can click OK and again select on Display/Validate License to view the license details. So we can click OK and go to the Data Watch. We need to power cycle the device for license to take effect. So you can see the license bit of Mqtt is turned on. We will also check the SD card in FileZilla. So you can see the file named Mqtt firmware.lic has been created in the SD card. Lastly, we will move on to licensing of the J1939 feature. We will go to Hardware Configuration and click on CAN1 config. Next, click on Display/Validate License. Click OK on the pop-up and select Obtain License. Enter the voucher code and click on Apply Voucher to apply the voucher. You will get a message, Voucher code applied successfully. This completes the J1939 licensing. We will power cycle the controller once again for the license to take effect. Go to Data Watch and now you can see the J1939 licensing bit %s210 is turned on. Again, we will go to FileZilla and establish the connection. Refresh the SD card and you can find the file named J1939 firmware.lic has been created in the SD card as well. This completes the licensing of features. Thank you for listening so far, and next we'll be moving on to our live questions and answers session.
Okay, so that was licensing of all of the runtime features that require it. Now, one question has come in twice, the same question. Global voucher code. Yes, you may have spotted that. The global voucher code is a code that you can use to permanently license any product up to the release of Seascape 10. Okay, so this voucher code is a permanent voucher that will allow a permanent license on any of the products that support licensing features up to the release of Seascape 10. It's a free license, okay, free of charge. It'll be published. I know it's, we mentioned it in the presentation, it's at 6 minutes in, but it'll also be published up on the website under the firmware page, which we'll talk about more on Thursday, okay? So as I said, global voucher code, free of charge, Enhanced Iec, Mqtt, and J1939. Now, specifically for J1939, where your controller already has a J1939 license, you can't put J1939 on an existing unit. I'm sorry, on a unit that doesn't have a J1939 license already. Again, free of charge, so work away with that as soon as it becomes available. And again, these are permanent licenses, so anything you license, it'll be there for the duration of the lifetime of the product itself. Any other questions on licensing? I don't see anything else coming in here. No, all is clear. The next presentation is for those of you who enjoy programming in IEC. This is the Enhanced Iec. It's about 20 minutes long, so bear with us, and there are some details. So fully understand anyone that doesn't normally program in IEC. This may seem a bit daunting, but bear with us. It's a fantastic new feature. We've added, as I said, simulation and lots of system exception captures and things like that. So we'll see you on the other side of this. And if you have any questions, again, please ask them throughout.
Hi, today we'll be showing you how to enable Enhanced Iec compiler in Cscape 9.9 SP4. We will introduce some new data types, Enum and Bitfields, a new simulation feature, and some enhanced debugging and online programming features. We will finish by covering exception handling, and then end with a live questions and answers session. Throughout this tutorial, each item will have a related video tutorial example. To set up the Enhanced Iec environment, go to Tools, Application Settings, Supported Types, and enable Support Iec Editor Programs. Next, from File, click New and select IEC 61131 Language Editors. Next, select Tools, Editor Options, Compiler Options, and enable Enhanced Iec mode. Enhanced Iec features are now enabled in Cscape. These include exception modules, new data types, simulation, debug, and enhanced project settings. Next, let's get our Enhanced Iec environment set up in Cscape. To enable Enhanced Iec compiler, go to Tools, Application Settings, and enable Support Iec Editor Programs. If a user wants to create an Enhanced Iec application by default when they create a new application, they must select Enhanced Iec Default Enable option and click OK. Create new application and select IEC 61131 Language Editors and then click OK again. Next, go to Hardware Configuration and select Enhanced Iec Supported Hardware and click OK. Once Enhanced Iec is enabled, by then all features, including exception modules, Enum and Bitfield types, simulation options, will all be enabled in Cscape. To convert existing IEC programs to Enhanced Iec, you must enable it by clicking Tools, Editor Options, Compiler Options, and by selecting the checkbox Enhanced Iec mode. Cscape will then change compiler mode to Enhanced Iec mode. The Bitfield data type is a new data type that is coming with Enhanced Iec in Service Pack 4. The Bitfield data type defines a new data type using integer data, which can have readable names for a selection of bits, allowing the use of varname.bitname notations in programs. Click Tools and then Bitfield window. Insert Bitfield. Rename it as a graphic attribute and edit the values to match the attribute's control format for graphical objects. In the Program Variables window, create an instance of attribute underscore numeric as a Bitfield data type. Open the graphic editor and create a shape object with the attributes variable attribute underscore numeric. So let's move to Seascape. To create bitfields, click on the Bitfield window. You can see here as an example, I have already created an integer type bitfield named graphic attribute to control the attributes of this numeric object. I've configured some bit names to give a readable indication of the functionality of the individual bits: visibility, flash, border, enable, color 1, etc. Once the bitfield type is created, we must then create a variable instance of the bitfield, here as attribute underscore numeric of type graphic attribute. We can now use attribute underscore numeric in the graphic editor as the attribute variable for a numeric object. Here, you can see the object display properties. Dynamic attributes override register has been configured as attribute underscore numeric. The individual bits of the attribute underscore numeric variable can be accessed and assigned for the various options. These variables can also be used individually as objects or within the logic editor as shown in this example. The Enum data type is the other new data type coming with Enhanced Iec and Service Pack 4. The Enum data type defines a data type that is an enumeration of named types, a special data type that enables a variable to be a set of predefined constants. For example, to use the Enum data type in Cscape, click Tools, go to the Enum window, add a new Enum eMachine modes with entries off, manual and automatic. Create a new program variable machine mode of data type Enum eMachine modes, and now open the graphic editor and create a selector switch with the variable name machine mode. So let's move to Seascape. To create Enum's data, click the Enums window, and you can see here as an example, I have already created a new Enum data type called eMachine mode with values off, manual and automatic. Next, in the program variables, create a variable called machine mode with data type of Enum, eMachine mode. This eMachine mode variable can be used in the logic editor as shown in this example. Start the simulation, which we will cover next, and you can see as per the logic written that machine mode is set to the eMachine mode #manual variable. The Seascape simulation feature is a new one coming with Enhanced Iec and Service Pack 4. Using simulation, you can test the application or logic without the need for connected hardware. For example, use this simple structured text program logic. MyVar is MyVar plus 1. If MyVar equals 100, then MyVar equals 0. And if. From debug to start simulation, MyVar is incremented on each scan. When the variable reaches 100, it resets to 0. So let's go to Seascape to run through this simulation example. In structured text, I've created a simple loop logic in which the double integer variable, myvar, is incremented each scan. When the value reaches 100, it moves 0 into the variable. To simulate the logic, go to Debug and click on Start Simulation. As you can see, the myvar variable is incrementing up to 100 and then resetting to 0. We can change the value of the myvar within the program variable by double-clicking the myvar variable. To stop the simulation mode, go to Debug and click on Stop Simulation. Next, let's move on and look at our enhanced debugging feature. The debugger has a rich collection of powerful features for enabling step-by-step debugging within the source code of the application. the commands available are as follows. Step in. This will execute each line of code step by step. If any subroutines or UDFBs need to be executed to get the next function block, the step will move inside the function block. i.e., if the line contains a call to a subroutine or UDFB, then that subroutine or UDFB is opened and a break occurs at the first line of the subroutine or UDFB. If there is no subroutine or UDFB on the line, then the debugger steps to the next line. Step over. If the next instruction is a call of a function block or a sub-program, the execution continues up to the end of the called block. And step out. We'll complete execution of the current subroutine or UDFB and then break at the next line in the calling mode. i.e., if currently debugging in a subroutine or UDFB, then the remainder of that module is executed and execution returns to the calling module. This assumes no further breakpoints are encountered in the remainder of the subroutine or UDFB. There are three debugging output windows. The breakpoints window, which allows you to view the list of active breakpoints. The call stack window. When stepping, the call stack is available. It shows the stack of called function blocks and/or subprograms, from the top level calling program up to the current stepping position. For UDFB, the call stack also indicates which instance of the UDFB is executed. The runtime window. When a program is in debug or simulation mode and trace points are set, then it will hit trace points and indicate the corresponding traced points. Next, let's move to Seascape to look at an example of our debugging feature in action. In this example, I have one main loop module and one UDFB module named pump1. To add or remove the breakpoint or trace point, go to the line where you want the breakpoint or trace points to be added. Right-click on that line and select Add Remove Breakpoint or Add Remove Trace Point. I also have the option to use the short keys F9 or F8. In this application, I have added breakpoints, which are marked by circles, on line number 2, 4, 5 and 8, and trace points, which are marked in squares, on line number 9. For step-by-step debugging, go to Debug and click Start Simulation. There are three commands for step-by-step debugging. These are step in, step over, and step out. Clicking step in will execute each line of code in sequential steps. As you can see here, each time I click step in, it goes to the next line of code. Step over will execute the code to the end of the called block, or if the next instruction call is a call of a function block or a subprogram, then the execution will continue up until the end of that called block. Here, step in will execute line number 2. Now, if step over is clicked, then pump1 subroutine executes, and cursor will go to the line number 5 in this code. Clicking step in further will execute numbers 8, 9 and 10 sequentially, and will end at line number 2. Again, if we click step in, cursor or debugger will go to the line in number 4, and it will go inside the UDFB module. If we click step out, the cursor will execute up to line number 7 and then exit the UDFB module. Now the cursor is in line number 8. Step out will complete execution of the current subroutine or UDFB, then break at the next line in the calling code. Enhanced Iec Runtime also supports 3 debug windows. Those are the call stack window, breakpoints window, and runtime window. Here we can see the active breakpoints listed in the breakpoint window. When step in is active, the call stack is available. It shows the stack of the called function block and subprograms from the top level program up to the current stepping position. For UDFBs, the call stack also indicates which instance of the UDFB is executed. When the program is in debug or simulation mode and trace points set, then it will hit the trace points. We can see the corresponding trace points within the runtime window. Online programming mode is another new feature coming with Enhanced Iec in Service Pack 4. To utilize online programming mode, you must first prepare the online change. Prepare the project by editing the settings. Go to Tools, Enhanced Iec Project Settings, Runtime, and Online Change. For each data types, a maximum size of allocated memory needs to be declared. Online Change allows additions to all these items, but only up to a predefined value. Download the application to the controller to validate these settings. Write a simple program in ST as below. B test online change plus equals 1. Click debug/monitor and Cscape will download tagged IO names to the controller. Once the IO names are downloaded to the controller, Cscape will display the window opposite showing three options. Exit debug, which returns the program to editing, closing debugging. Do online change, which updates the logic on the controller to match that in Cscape, runs the modified logic and places Cscape in debug mode. And debug without logic change. The logic on the controller remains as is. It runs and places Cscape in debug mode. And then online changes can be applied later using toolbar options. Next, let's move to Cscape to look at online programming changes in action. To create an environment for online change, go to Tools and click on Enhanced Iec Project Settings. Now click on Options and then double-click and activate Online Change. For each data type, a maximum size of allowed memory needs to be declared. This can be done either by value or by margin %. I will change one of the variables. For example, dint or real variables. I'm increasing the size of this variable to 10 and clicking Apply. The value 1 indicates the number of this variable type is already in use. I'm going to select all the variables using the Shift click and increase to 100%. And now all the program variable sizes are increased. I'm going to close this window and click OK. After configuring the maximum allowed memory size, the application needs to be compiled and should be downloaded to the OCS to validate the settings. Now, I download the compiled application to the controller, and after downloading the application, both the OCS and Cscape are ready for online programming. Once online change settings are downloaded to the controller, we can create new variables in the program variable list. Let's create a new variable of bool type. Any new variables created are highlighted in blue in the program variable list with the attribute added. We can also delete any newly created program variables. These variables are then highlighted in red with the attribute deleted. To demonstrate online programming, I will create a program variable of type dint. I will rename this program variable as btestonlinechange, and I will write some simple logic where I will increment this variable by 1. This program variable as btestonlinechange, and I will write some simple logic where I will increment this variable by 1. To update this logic on the OCS, go to Debug and click on Debug/Monitor. Now Cscape will download the changed program variable list to the controller. If a large number of program variables are created, then this may take a few minutes to download to the controller. Cscape will verify the program variable list. Once the program variables are downloaded to the controller, then Cscape will pop up a message indicating a configuration mismatch window, and it will offer three options. These are exit, debug, do online change, and debug without online change. To perform an online change, let's click do online change to update the logic in the controller. When the logic is updated in the controller, Cscape will pop up a message, online change completed and OK. So let's click OK, and as you can see, the updated logic is now running and the value is incrementing by 1 each scan. Now exit debug mode. Let's change this logic. Instead of incrementing the value, I will decrement the value. Next, I will click debug/monitor to update this logic to the controller. Again, click on Do Online Change. Cscape will pop up, Online Change completed, and OK. We can see the value of the program variable btestonlinechange is decrementing. This way, online programming can be used to download the changed application without putting the controller in stop mode. Exceptional handling is the last feature we're going to talk about in today's tutorial. The compiler enables the user to write exception programs for handling particular system events. The following exceptions can be handled. Startup, before the cycle. This writes an exception program to be executed before the first application cycle is executed. Shutdown, after the last cycle. This writes an exception program to be executed after the last application cycle when the runtime system is cleanly stopped. Divided by zero. This will be invoked if a divide by zero operation occurs, i.e., in the current IEC system, a divide by zero causes a system exception which reboots the PLC, whereas the new exception handler allows action to be taken in response, keeping the PLC running. Array index out of bounds. This will be invoked if an array is handled with an invalid index. In the current IEC system, an array of out of bounds error can cause huge problems, particularly writing out of bounds which may corrupt the other variables, or interfere with the operation of SFCs, causing the program to behave highly erratically. The new exception handler allows the errors to be detected and resolved. Next, we're going to look at an example of using exception handling in Seascape. Enhanced Iec runtime enables users to write exception programs for handling particular system events. 4 types of exceptions can be handled in Enhanced Iec. These are P on bad index, P on div0, P startup, and P shutdown. P on bad index, or array index is out of bounds, will be invoked if any array is executed with an invalid index. In the current system, an array out of bounds error can cause significant problems, particularly writing out of bounds which may corrupt other variables or interfere with the operation of sequential function charts, causing the program to behave erratically. The new exception handler allows the errors to be detected and resolved. P on div0, or divide by zero error, will be invoked if a divide by zero operation occurs. In the current IEC system, a divide by zero causes a system exception which reboots the PLC. The new exception handler allows action to be taken in response which can keep the PLC running. P startup, or before the first cycle, writes an exception program which will run before the first application cycle is executed. P shutdown, or after the last cycle, allows users to write their own exception programs to be executed after the last application cycle when the runtime system is cleanly stopped. This example shows you how to handle a divide by zero exception. Here, I have written logic where the result is equal to var1 divided by var2. Both variables are integer type. When a divide by zero operation occurs, we move a value of 2 to var2. If var1 is 100 and var2 is 50, the logic gives a result of 2. If we then change the value of var2 to 0, then the exception handle immediately moves a value of 2 to var2, giving a valid result to the logic calculation. Thank you for listening so far. Next, we will be moving on to our live questions and answers session.
Are you still with us? Again, if you're not an IEC programmer, then that was probably tough going. But if you are, and I know a lot of you are, you'll appreciate the additional features in Enhanced Iec. These are things that have been requested from you over the years, and we've implemented quite a few of them now at this point. So yeah, Enhanced Iec. Questions. Now, there's been a couple of questions in the meantime. Are licenses related to PLC serial numbers? No. The licenses are assigned to the MAC ID of the controller. So each controller will have a unique MAC ID, and that's how the license is assigned. Can we remove the SD card and license another unit? You can, but not with that license. The license is tied to a specific MAC ID. So by all means use the card, but you'll have to download another license for another controller. Do we get the voucher code? Yes, you do. I've said that. So that will be published up on the website. We'll give you details of that. In a unit with 2 LAN ports, which MAC ID? LAN 1. Okay, so LAN 1 is the MAC ID that we're always assigning these licenses to. As you know, some of the controllers, the XL7, EXL10, and the XL Plus all have multiple CAN and LAN ports, but it's the MAC ID of LAN 1. What else have we got here? Does the simulator need to be connected to a controller? No, it's entirely its own entity within Seascape, so you can run the program entirely through the simulator. Anything else? Can't see anything else. Let me just show you my screen. I believe you can all see my screen now. You can. Okay, so it's live now, but when we finish this webinar in the next minute or so, Seascape 9.9 SP4 and the assets, release notes, etc. is ready to be downloaded from the software section of the website. So you will need to register for those of you who haven't. So that'll be a good thing to do relating to our registration video earlier. So register, download the Seascape 9.9 SP4, which is up there live now. On Thursday, we will conclude SP4 with migration from IEC to Enhanced Iec, and also the register-based advanced ladder to variable-based advanced ladder. And also, we will be going through a demonstration of creating a bootable micro SD card. So that's a very useful utility and function to know. And again, once we're completed then on Thursday, all of the assets will be live on the website to download. I'm just looking, is there anything else here that we haven't answered? Not that I can see. Thanks again, everyone, for joining us today. I hope to hear you and see you and speak to you on Thursday morning. Until then, have a good day.